Hey, welcome everybody. This is the Chai Tea Tai Chi web show. I'm one of your hosts, Andrew Brown, and welcoming Dane Dormio. How are you doing, Dane? Founder of Chai Tea
I'm
Tai Chi.
I'm doing great. How are you doing this evening, Andrew?
Quite well. Long day at work. Now I'm home. Let's get to relax and talk about some of my favorite things. Tai Chi. So tonight we were discussing a little bit about mirror neurons earlier, and basically this is something that people share. It's innate to all people. It's just a physiological truth, and we should explain it and make sure people understand it so that they can use this information to the best of their knowledge. So, Dane, why don't you tell us a little bit about what is a mirror neuron?
Mirror neurons are a subset of our sensory and motor neurons that are dedicated to modeling the physical and emotional states of other human beings. And that's that's probably the most literal and direct way of putting it, but I think it bears some explanation because there's actually quite a bit that can be unpacked about that. Um, there are mirror neurons are both uh, sensory and motor neurons, and they're a subset of our existing neurons. So we have sensory neurons which pick up sensory information from the organs, from the skin, from the body, and they transmit that information to the brain. And we also have motor neurons that transmit signals from the brain to the muscles, um, from the central nervous system to the muscles, uh, dictating how to move. Um, so we have both sensory and motor neurons, and there's a certain portion of those, a certain uh, subset, a percentage, a fairly small percentage, but a certain portion of those are dedicated to modeling the physical and emotional states of other human beings by mimicking them internally. And so, in terms of the emotional state, for example, mirror neurons. Actually, let me back up and talk about the physical state first of all, and the way that mirror neurons were first discovered, which was
Oh,
in I think in the early '90s, if I recall correctly, in a lab in Italy where there was some um, uh, some unrelated brain research going on, and they had these neuro electrodes hooked up to a
mm-hmm.
monkey's brain so they could see see the activity of the monkey's brain on a screen, and um, they were specifically looking at activity in the motor cortex, and they took a break for lunch, went away from the lab and left the electrodes hooked up to the monkey's brain. And then they came back from lunch, and one of the scientists was eating an ice cream cone. So the scientist was going like this, and the monkey was just sitting there, not moving, but looking at the scientist eating the ice cream cone. And the while the monkey was just watching this activity, the the readout
Motor
of the
neuron.
monkey's brain was showing that the monkey was moving as if it was also eating ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
So basically there was a while it was watching the physical activity, there was an internal model of this process going on in its own neurology as if it was engaging its muscles and moving in the same way that it was observing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this is what mirror neurons do. Um, if you see somebody move in a certain way, then the same motor neurons in your body and brain, a certain portion of them are activating. And normally it's at a subperceptual level and we don't notice it. But it's always there, and we can notice it at times. One example of this is if you see somebody stub their toe and it makes you cringe a little bit, it's because your neurology is modeling their physiology there, and it's modeling the pain that they feel a little bit, and you get a little sense of the internal reaction. Or uh, of course, watching America's Funniest Home Videos and seeing somebody, especially if you're a guy, seeing another guy get hit in the groin, we all feel that a little bit.
Instantly feel it. Yes, it's right there, and you're like, oh wow, I remember that. That's the worst.
That's thanks to mirror neurons. Also, emotional contagion is a function of mirror neurons. If you're around somebody who's glum and gloomy and sad, then you tend to kind of feel that way. If you're around somebody who's excited and upbeat and positive, then you tend to feel that way. Crowds tend to influence each other in this same way, and emotional contagion. Do what?
Oh, just one person at a time. You just the wave keeps spreading out from the person who starts that kind of pattern. Just like when you see at a sport, like you were saying, at a stadium. Yeah, it sounds a lot like empathy instantly when you said it. It was like, oh yeah, so this is why we have empathy, and society works because we have this social mirror neuron where we see other people doing well or doing poorly, and we feel that for ourselves. And so we're like, oh, okay, I don't want that to happen to me. Let me help them. Or the other thing.
That's absolutely correct. Mirror neurons are the basis of empathy. And in fact, one of the leading mirror neuron researchers in the world, Vilayanur Ramachandran, did a TED Talk, and the name of his TED Talk is "The Neurons That Built Civilization." Because mirror neurons are responsible for empathy and emotional contagion, which are two sides of the same coin, and they're also responsible for the ability of human beings to mimic one another and learn from example, learn from observation, to see somebody doing something and just learn by watching, learn how to do that thing just by watching. So so that's why they're called the neurons that shape civilization. This is our ability to mimic and to copy each other is one of, if not the key distinguishing features of human beings from other animals. It's not our opposable thumbs or anything physiological like that so much as it is our ability to mimic each other. This is what allows us to learn language and to learn skills just by observing. So mirror neurons they affect both emotions and physical sensations as well as physical movements. And so if you're seeing somebody, just anytime you're seeing somebody, if you're watching somebody dance, your own nervous system is modeling their movement inside of you, and likewise if you're watching anybody else do or experience anything else. And so one way to put it is mirror neurons are a way for our nervous systems to communicate directly with one another, not through any kind of verbal or other communication channels, but just by seeing each other. And it's primarily through sight, although it's also, mirror neurons also operate through sound. You can pick up emotion through the sound of someone's voice and other things, but primarily it's sight. And so if you look at a group of people or a crowd or a group of people, and you were to look at the neural activity that's going on, it's not a collection of individuals. It's actually a sea of neural activity that is taking place amongst all the members of that
Shared
group.
experience.
Yeah. So it's what I refer to as the group energy field. There's a neurological energy that is transferred among human beings in proximity.
Well, yeah, for one thing, our heart is so strong that it creates an electromagnetic field that spreads out 10 feet in every direction. So it's strong enough to be detected in a RF quiet space to see that powerful field that each one of us generates. And when I'm standing next to somebody, our fields are interacting, we're pushing on each other, and they're blending together in certain ways. And my heartbeat will match up with other people's heartbeats because of that kind of field. And then just like at a concert, everyone starts getting that same heart rhythm because of the music, and then everyone starts amping up at the same time. And it's exactly what you're talking about. It's that spread of this very similar shared experience that makes this all, society work out pretty well.
Well, that's not exactly what I'm talking about. It is related and similar. What you're talking about is more of actually an electromagnetic phenomena, which is something that
it's all part of the energy field, yes. And your brain is reading the information from your energy field as well as seeing something or hearing something.
So, I mean, let's make a clear distinction here. I'm saying that the phenomena you're talking about, that like the heart synchronization, that's an actual electromagnetic field effect. What I'm talking about, mirror neurons don't operate by an electromagnetic field effect. They operate mostly through visual sight. So if two people are standing back to back facing away from each other, their mirror neuron system won't necessarily have any information to function on, although their electromagnetic fields can still interface. So it is, I mean, in a sense, everything is energy. So yeah, it's all an energy field, but that phenomenon you're talking about is different than the mirror neuron phenomenon, because you're talking about something that is an electromagnetic effect, whereas I'm talking about a visual effect. Although they both are components of what we can call the group energy field. There's multiple components of that. So those are both part of that experience. But the mirror neuron effect is primarily visual effect, that people have to be able to see each other for mirror neuron system to function. That's
right, got it. So then let's take it to the next step then. What do mirror neurons have to do with Tai Chi?
So I discovered this somehow just incidentally, and I don't remember exactly how or when I discovered it, but I discovered sometime early on in learning Tai Chi that when something that I was always good at ever since I was a kid and first started doing martial arts at age 10, I always found that I seemed to be pretty talented at observing somebody do a certain movement and then doing the same movement very closely, almost exactly the way I'd seen it done. And some people are not so skilled at that. They see it and then they can't quite figure it out, and you got to correct them and show them. But for me, I could just pretty much watch somebody do something and I could do it. And what I discovered when I started practicing internal martial arts was that's a very palpable feeling if you're in a meditative state and you're following somebody visually, that you can actually feel a sense of connection. If you tune in and sync up, you can feel a sense of connection between your body and their body. So if you're learning a form and you're following your teacher doing the form, or something similar to that, there's a very palpable feeling of connection that you sync up with somebody, and then you're not really the one moving your body. You're just linked to them and being pulled along by their movements, even though they're not touching you. It's just purely visual. And so I developed an exercise around that where two people sync up and one person leads and the other person follows. And the whole point is just to tap into this uh, this mirror neuron sensation, and move as if you're actually a mirror image of one another. And the more that you practice this, the more tuned in you get, the more you can feel that sense of direct connection, so that when your partner moves, your body just moves automatically in sync with them without it being processed through the intellect and the conscious mind. It's just a direct neurological connection. And so I would say that Tai Chi is, as a practice, particularly the partner practices, and this is also true in a certain way for partner practices that involve contact, where you're making contact with your partner. But this doesn't just develop your own neurology, your own energy system, but also develops your ability to interface with another person's energy system, and to interface in a harmonious way. And so one of the benefits of Tai Chi is development of mirror neuron sensitivity, and at the same time, developing mirror neuron sensitivity helps to improve your Tai Chi practice. If you develop mirror neuron sensitivity in other ways, like there are lots of ways to do that, but one of the ones that I've found actually to be very powerful is partner dance. And if you ever taught push hands to somebody who has a lot of experience with partner dance, you'll find that they already have a good innate ability to kind of sync up and link and listen and follow like that. So that's another realm where mirror neuron activation comes into play, and there's a certain amount of crossover.
Yeah, I've noticed that whenever I did the pairs work and I had them just touching wrist to wrist, just touching of hand to hand, and then just walking and just keeping that same space, they got really good at just staring at each other and feeling each other walk. And, eventually I'd say just close your eyes and you can still feel that sensation. So you start with the eyes, and then you can keep that lock even when you close your eyes. So it's a pretty interesting sensation. I remember I empathize a lot with what you're saying during martial arts class, because I learned so many different forms, and the only way I could do it is by watching my teacher do it and just copying it as best I can, and then watching someone on YouTube do it and then copy the best I can. And I would blend those things, and that's my style. This is the way I do it. It's a little different than you. It's a little different than him. But yeah, it's really important to be able to watch people and be able to copy people. And it's really interesting that you're saying that if we put put some electrodes in our head, we could maybe even be completely seeing us imagining the motion. And so our motor neurons are going off, our hands are sitting still, but someone's playing tennis. And I feel that my shoulder goes over, and I feel the hit of the ball on my wrist because I've played tennis before. I know what you mean. That's cool. Yeah, so definitely a really interesting topic. Thanks very much, Dane. And where can people learn more about Tai Chi and mirror neurons?
Well, we have an online learning community that they can join. They can find it through our website, Chai Tea Tai Chi, or of course, just reach out and talk to us. If you're interested, we have an extensive video library, as well as live weekly online classes, and We are here to support you in your lifelong mind-body mastery journey. So we'd love to have you join us if you'd like our help.
All right, wonderful. Yes, it's a great platform, and we are having a great time over there, helping out some students and teaching a lot of classes. We're still doing 3 classes a week through our platform, and then we're also both teaching another 2 classes a week. So yeah, we're teaching a few hours a week right now. It's pretty good. And so we want to keep it up, and we want to get more students. So please come on over and let's share Tai Chi together. All right, guys. Thanks very much. It's great chatting with you, Dane. Have a good night.
You too. Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah.